Thanks for coming by, Frankie.
Dude, it's good to be here. I was just telling this guy it's like coming home.
Yeah.
You know? It's always like, go to the RC office, it's like, no, we're just going home. You know, this is my Long Beach home forever.
This is it, man. This is it. So we got this little space knocked out here in the corner, and we're going to talk about, we're going to talk about a lot of different stuff. I didn't even write any questions down. This is going to be full freeform.
Like, a lot of stories.
Yeah.
A lot of stories.
Well, I mean, we could start with, let's start with Super Hooligan, because we're kind of kicking this off as the Super Hooligan podcast.
As we should.
You are historically an important figure in Super Hooligan racing.
Oh, that feels good.
Yeah, right?
I just got tingly inside.
Winner of the first Moto Beach Super Hooligan race.
And the only Super Hooligan race I ever won. I've come close a couple other times, but that was it. One and done.
The only Ducati win as well for Super
Really?
Hooligan.
I didn't know that.
That's not true.
Jay-Z.
Jamie Robinson.
Oh, yeah.
Jamie Robinson won Coda on a Ducati Scrambler. I got second.
Yep. And I think Zemke won.
I got second a lot.
Did Zemke win Sturgis?
Zemke did win Sturgis.
Buffalo
no,
Chip.
you're right.
Yeah.
No, Ducati's got a few wins back in the day.
Yep.
Yeah.
We debunked that myth.
Yeah, we did. See, already.
You can't make me feel too good because I'll just throw myself back in the ground.
Well, we just already kicked this podcast off with a bunch of lies.
False statements.
Just absolute bullshit.
Whatever. This whole podcast is going to be absolute bullshit.
Absolute bullshit. We're going to have to go back to get fact checked.
Nobody fact check this ever.
Please don't. So we're heading into our what would this be our 8th? Again, I'm going to fucking blatantly lie.
The number's up there.
I think this is our 8th year of Super Hooligan racing, or 9th.
Let's see.
2015.
What year did I win Moto Beach Classic? That was 17.
17.
17. And it was happening before that.
Yeah, and it happened 2 years before that. So 15. So we're on, I think we are on our 8th year.
Ninth year.
8th or 9th year. Yeah, I should know all this information, but I don't.
We'll look it up later.
I don't. We're on our 7th year of Moto Beach.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
and Super Hooligan was happening
so maybe
a couple years before that.
9 years.
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Doesn't seem like it.
No.
I mean, we went from flat tracking to road racing to, everything in between.
Yeah.
And it seemed like that Moto Beach Classic, it's coming up, and I feel like we just did the first one not that long ago. Doesn't seem like 9 or 7 years ago.
I feel like we've put so much fun stuff into our lives in the past 10 years that I was thinking things were going to slow down and life was going to get mellower, and it's done nothing but get faster.
You got more.
Sometimes I want to just go home and lay down and try and not have the time pass as quickly.
Yeah, this little thing started called bagger racing, and I think that's what screwed all of that over.
That screwed everything up, dude, big time. Whose idea was that?
That was, yeah. There's a lot of people whose idea that was.
Is that fucking?
Is that the little guy?
Is that the little guy?
Oh, jeez.
Of all the people to walk in on this little bitty fucking window of time we have to do this, it would be Wee Man.
It's everyone's favoriteest, tallest motorcycle.
You would think that someone that small wouldn't make that much noise.
He does.
He does. He makes a lot of noise. We're racing Super Hooligans. We're headed into Coda.
Yes.
Which is going to be hot as shit. Final round. We got a heated up championship. We got Tyler O'Hare and we got Corey West. Kind of like they've turned into arch rivals.
Harley versus Indian.
Harley versus back on Indian. That. Old guy versus semi-old guy. Corey West is old now, isn't he?
Corey West is like 37. He's almost your age.
Hey, don't do him like that.
Oh, dude.
Don't do him like that.
Yeah, they're both kind of older. I think that's what Super Hooligans and kind of bagger racing has really turned into is all the dudes that were kind of done or almost done. Second win. Here we go. We're back.
You could say that they're in their prime.
Dad bods and
they're
shit.
They're in their dad bod prime.
Well, Corey's got a baby on the way.
Everybody's got kids. Everybody who's racing right now has kids.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't have. I know a couple other losers who have kids.
There might be a couple out there that I don't know about, but
no kids.
We're having fun.
Kids are such a pain in the ass, but they're the best thing that you can ever do.
Yeah,
if you're willing to commit.
Yeah, dude, we got Coda coming up. I think it's. That's going to be a real big important one. I think this will be the biggest year of championship decision in a last round that Super Hooligans has probably ever had.
I mean, with Harley and Indian battling, there's a lot of money kind of like behind these teams, behind these championships, behind these bikes. There's been tons of development that's happened, and we've seen the Harleys go from like kind of, last year running like fourth, fifth, like finishing on the podium, I think once at Daytona.
Laguna
Did it
last
finish?
year. Yeah,
Corey
Corey's
finished
on the third.
You know more about this shit than I do.
Dude, I pay attention. Like, Super Hooligans, like, I really, and I've said this, I'm glad we're on a podcast and I'm able to say this now, but Super Hooligans did more for me in my life than, like, anybody could probably ever imagine. Like, the last 6 years, dude, I was racing Super Hooligans like my second year
that's
as
crazy.
my job.
That's crazy.
Like, I was like making just barely enough to like make a living off of it.
Yeah.
But like I had enough like partnership deals to where like, and then that transpired into bagger racing. Like, Super Hooligans has done so much for my life, and it's such a big deal to me, and like it's so near and dear to my heart. So like I really pay attention to like what's going on. Like, I know it's your baby, but it's like my brother. Like, I like pay attention to it. It's important, man, and it's come such a long way with going from flat track racing and parking lot racing to now it's a full-blown national championship in the North America's premier road racing championship with Moto America. Like, dude, it is grown, and I think, like I said, like this year, is it's just getting bigger every year. I'm like, we're looking at grids with 36 to 40 dudes on it, and
42 guys signed up for COTA right now.
Exactly, and how many manufacturers? Like, dude, it's hard not to love, and like I said, it's done so much for not just me, but for so many people. Like, it's turned people's, like, it went from a hobby and like made careers. So, I mean, you got to be proud of that. That's pretty wild, what it's done.
The fact that we could give people a platform to race the bikes they want to race, for the manufacturers to market and race the machines that they sell every day, in large quantities, and to be able to offer this many manufacturers the opportunity to come out and compete. It was like, what the rules used to say, the rules are loose at best.
Dude, those were the good days.
Those were the good days. And
like,
now they're measuring handlebar heights. So,
yeah. Bars cannot be over the top of the triple clamp.
Thanks, Corey West.
Yeah. Jesus. I think Dave's still real proud of that one. He's probably pissed.
Proud of that
pissed
one.
That I said that.
It's one thing. Like, this year, to see the Satterman guys have been busting their ass to get results, big time for a long time, and to see them on the podium this year, and to see Corey winning and Jake winning, I mean, that's pretty cool for those guys. I am so psyched to be able to give them a platform to come out and show that they're capable and they can come and win races.
And we've even seen like KWR jump into the picture on Pan Americas, and like, those
Travis led Mid-Ohio, and his bike kind of unfortunately didn't.
There's electrical problem.
Yeah, electrical problem.
The throttle problem. Yeah. But, dude, it's crazy because I think last year we went to Daytona. We saw Corey win. They accidentally put the wrong throttle bodies back in the bike when they did the crazy overnight, rebuild. And, unfortunately it was DQ'd. But we saw a lot of potential when he won that race. And then after that was when S&S went and did like this big development test and kind of just went hard on the FTRs, and then they came back because there's a big gap between round 1 and round 2, and we saw them come back so hard, and then it was like they were untouchable. Like, I remember when Corey got on the podium at Laguna Seca, there was a red flag, and he pulled in, and I said, hey, McWilliams and Tyler and DeBrino are scrapping. And he's like, dude, what do I do? I'm like, they're scrapping. I just think you need to be there and wait for a mistake. And that's exactly what happened. I think McWilliams ended up running off or something like that. Or one of him and DeBrino, something happened, and one of them ran off. That's how Corey got third.
I think it was DeBrino.
Yeah.
Did DeBrino crash?
Something happened. So they were just scrapping. Then there were some rule changes over the offseason that saw, with you guys let Harley put the Pan America throttle body or the velocity stacks back in, and not the Sportster velocity stacks, and that kind of evened that gap of when like S&S went from testing and all this development into the FTR, and it kind of raised their bar. And then I think when the Pan Americans got the velocity stacks back, it evened it out again.
I think we're in a place now where it is fairly even. I think the Pans got they got a little beans on top.
Might have a little bit.
I think they
a
have
little bit of legs.
They got a little bit of legs on top, and you can see it. I think off the corner it's not so bad, but at a place, and we're going to see it. Coda's going to be a big one because that straightaway is such a
the track's
monster.
Long. There's 2 of them. Yeah,
yes.
2 straightaways.
2 straightaways.
It's a fast track.
This is a hell of a fast
track. Yeah,
so we're going to see what is truly the balance at Coda, but it's also the place where we're going to decide this championship. So
I think another like factor with that is last year Corey didn't really get to ride much there because he crashed. I mean, he rode, but he crashed and didn't really get to race. He didn't race the second race, and so I think those guys have a little bit more time and more data and stuff like that. Corey crashed out of the last corner and broke his wrist last year, so there's that factor.
That was a wild crash, but what was even wilder was that Jeremy McWilliams, Tyler O'Hare battle in race 1.
Dude, yeah, those guys are going for championships battling like that. You guys are insane.
They're teammates.
Just going for it. Championship on the line, who cares? We're racers.
Full bent, dude.
Oh, but that's both those dudes. Like, you got Psychopath, Jeremy McWilliams, like just Isle of Man guy. Nothing can scare that guy anymore. And then you got Tyler O'Hare, who just wants it so bad. And you put those two together, teammates, whatever, championship, who cares? You
can see it when Tyler's on the box too. If he wins, you see this like the Tiger's out, and he's just like, yeah. Oh, he's so insane. Amped. He's like the Hulk Hogan of Super Hooligan.
Yeah, get this guy a 12-pack immediately. He needs it.
It's pretty cool to see that type of energy on the podium, and I've seen it from Jake. I've seen it from Corey.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
dude. I mean, the Super Hooligans is like it's no joke anymore.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You win that race, like you won a badass motorcycle race on badass bikes against badass real motorcycle racers
with their elbows out, like the hardest core. There's no electronics.
Nope. There's no fairing.
There's no rider's aids whatsoever.
No, and these bikes are making like 140, 150 horsepower now.
Well, I mean, let's see, at Laguna, they did, I think, high 28s.
Yeah. It's bagger times.
That's smoking fast.
It's dumb.
I mean, it's insane.
The first year we went there, the first Super Hooligan road race, I think we were doing like 35s, 36s. Like,
yeah.
Dude, I think maybe we got down to the 33s, but like...
It's insane.
Yeah, now look, it's insanity.
It's insane. I mean, we're 4, 5, 6 seconds off superbike times, which is respectable.
On naked bikes.
Yeah,
naked, heavy twins.
It's insane.
But it's still like it's competitive. The bikes the S&S bikes are pretty done up. There's some trick stuff on those bikes, but most of the other bikes are pretty kind of just showroom-ish,
Some of them, I mean, a lot of guys are there they'll go take a stock KTM, they'll put slicks on it, they'll put an exhaust on it and a tune, and they go on race it.
Yeah, good to go.
And they can qualify.
Yeah, and be decently competitive.
And they're on the lead lap, and they're not, getting lapped and anything like that. But, it's also, it's hard with the series because we got to balance out, like, the factory efforts versus the guys who are, like, weekenders.
Garage dudes.
Yeah, garage dudes. So that's kind of tough.
Yeah, I mean, we at the beginning there was the air-cooled class, which we've seen kind of go away because it just got too competitive, and those guys were just off the pace by so much. I thought that was kind of cool. Like, it was super core, and like we saw the Quaid dudes come out, and they had like a bunch of just air-cooled bikes, and they were riding their Dynas and FXRs.
Dude, I missed that.
Yeah,
I just don't. It's two different classes at this point, and that's what we kind of had to realize. Like, we set these air-cooled rules up so that like you could legitimately build anything you wanted out of an air-cooled bike. There's no weight limit. There's no horsepower limit.
Just go nuts.
There's no chassis limit. You could take any V-twin, air-cooled V-twin you wanted to from any manufacturer and build a chromoly chassis around it as long as it's got high bars and go race the thing. So no one's done that yet.
I always, and I still want to, and it'd be maybe a cool project with Harley is to take a road glide, just the full bagger race bike and just take the bodywork off of it and throw it in there and just see what I can do.
Can't be twin cooled though.
Can't be twin cooled.
Can't be twin cooled.
But we can still do it. It's still doable.
You could race the air cooled. It'd have to be air cooled.
Only. Yeah.
Air cooled only.
I think there's like a version that can be done. I think it'd be cool just to kind of see where the thing stacks up. Like I think it'd be competitive, like for a win.
Yeah, it could be. Obviously, like baggers are no slouch, and so
No.
take 200 pounds off a bagger.
Unreal.
And
Yeah,
see
no
what-
weight rule because it's air cooled.
Take 200 pounds off a bagger and see what happens.
It's over. I think it's a winner.
Someone should
I
do
think
it.
it's a one and done. Gets banned.
Yeah, you could get banned pretty quick
Yeah,
for that.
yeah.
but that
I'd
would
like
be
to
cool.
be that guy. Pay me to stay away. That's a Nathan Verdugo quote.
Pay me to stay away.
Pay me to stay
That's
away.
what they just did with FTR 750. Well, they didn't pay him. They just
they
kicked
didn't
him out.
pay him. They got ripped
They
off.
just give him the boot.
Yeah, that was interesting. We were like, I mean, we all just got back from Sturgis, and that was like a big talk there at that race. Was that's they kind of announced it that week. They were like, no more FTR next year, and it was like kind of really like eerie, like being there and like being a part of that and seeing, like looking around the pits and seeing how many FTRs were there, and it's like, dude, this bike is no more. Like, this is the end. There's 2 more races left right there. Like 2 more races left, and then that bike is obsolete.
It's really nutty to know that a company could do such a good job with a bike that they just straight up outlaw it.
Gone forever. I mean, we saw how, I mean, back in the day they did it with the Honda.
They did it with the Honda.
You know, Honda kind of they came in, did so well.
But that was like a one bike thing. That was like a one bike team, right?
No, it was a two rider team.
Was it a 2-rider team?
Yeah, it was like, you know, like Ricky, I think, and Bubba had success on it most, but then there were a lot of dudes that rode that bike, and it was just so fast and worked so good. It was like, you know, just FTR in the early days.
Crazy to just strip the paddock of the most dominant bike that everybody has in his racing in Super Twins. I mean, it's wild.
I mean,
it's wild.
I think right now, like just with Super Hooligans, like that probably laid some groundwork for making this decision. Is like you see Super Hooligans is such like a production-based class, and look at the success it's having. And then you have these other series with these classes with a basically prototype one-off kind of race bike that's not sold in dealers. You can't go ride it on the street. And like, I think they kind of saw the success of Super Hooligans and probably took a lot of that into consideration when they made this
It's so
decision.
crazy that like they had every opportunity to work with us to make Super Hooligan racing and flat track racing come together and be badass.
Remember when we'd go to those races and
We
like
used
we
to go
would
all
just
the time. We used to race those channels. Like we did what, a couple 3 rounds with them a year.
Yeah. But it was always like, we always kind of felt like the redheaded stepchildren. I mean, you are a redheaded stepchild. But like you know what that's like. But like we'd go there and like we're hyped because we know what we are. We know the show that we bring to town, and it was like they kept us at bay. They were like, okay, you guys are cool, but we're not going to let you be cooler than us. We're not going to let you take over. And I think that might have been a mistake. I think they should have let that take over.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit of a mistake. And maybe like with Moto America, the same thing could have happened.
Yeah.
But those guys run such a professional program, and
they really embraced it.
They did. And Chucky, I've known Chucky for such a long time, and Wayne is so cool, and Rich, you know, saw the value in it as well. And those guys, I think, have the understanding that in order to get people to the racetrack and get racing and make racing cool, you got to bring people in who bring new audiences to the table. So Bagger obviously did that.
Yeah.
And Super Hooligans doing that. And that's what American road racing needs. That might be what road racing needs across the planet, really.
Super Hooligans nation or worldwide. Dude, how cool would that be?
Worldwide prestige.
Prestige worldwide.
Super Hooligan.
Could you imagine going to a MotoGP race and there's just Super Hooligans?
Yes.
Sick.
Yes, I can imagine going to MotoGP and seeing Super Hooligan racing. Yes.
I don't know why they don't have it.
Let's go.
And on our next project,
MotoGP, let's have the convo. Let's talk about it. Let's get Super Hooligan out to a MotoGP race.
But a non-American MotoGP race.
It's got to be non-American.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be
they don't
insane.
need, like some of the tracks, they don't really need it. You know,
yeah,
like you go to Spain, you go to France, you go to Italy.
They don't need the help there.
They don't need the help there. No. But maybe there's another race that would make sense where, I mean, Australia would be so sick.
Those guys would be insane.
Australia would be sick.
Dude, you could imagine you tell a bunch of Australians, all right, at the next MotoGP round, we're going to have a Super Hooligans class. Could you imagine those psychopaths? 400 entries. Like, dude, you'd have to create a lottery for whoever gets in.
You 100% would have to do that. You would have to do that.
You'd have so many psychos.
What about
all of Rennie's Skatesbrook friends trying to sign up.
Or England?
England would be crazy too.
England would be incredible.
Super Hooligans, Cadwell Park.
Cadwell, Mallory Park.
Jeez.
The Hill, that place. Have you ridden over there?
No, I want to ride a bagger at Cadwell really bad. I want to jump a bagger on a racetrack.
No, you do not.
I don't want to do flyer lap.
That was the scariest racetrack I've ever ridden on in my life.
I have like this ongoing fear that lives within me that James Rispoli is somehow going to pull that off before I do.
To jump a bagger or
ride
to
because he's like
Cadwell.
Well, James has ridden case raced Cadwell because he spent so much time over there. But I have a feeling that like just because of that and the nature of it, that like he's going to somehow pull it off. It is my goal. Yeah, if whoever's listening, please help me.
Not a Cadwell, please. Maybe it just scares me.
I've never been, so I don't know what to be scared of. I just want to jump the bagger over the hill.
Dude, my team owner, the late great Paul Bird.
R.I.P.
The late great Paul Bird, Paul Bird Motorsports. He put me on a 250 over there. Took John McGinnis's ride after John broke his hip at Cadwell, and
that makes sense.
He put me out in the rain because I qualified so bad. I went over there. I did pretty good actually. I finished on the podium like 4 out of 5 races. But
in the rain?
2 of them were in the rain.
Yeah. All right, that's pretty good. Pretty good for like California road racer.
Yeah, everyone was like super surprised. I just said, dude, I'm gonna enjoy riding in the rain. And so it started raining. I would get psyched. I'd be like, yeah,
dude.
Weird.
I used to get psyched for rain races or not even rain races, just rain sessions.
Rain's cool.
But dude, believe it or not, Jersey last year, the last round, was the first time I ever raced flag to flag in the rain.
Oh, no shit?
Yeah.
Huh.
Everyone's like, what the hell? And I'm like, dude, I've never raced in the rain. Do it on a bagger. Sure, why not?
Paul Bird put me on slicks. I was the only guy on slicks because he thought it was my only opportunity. No, it didn't dry out. I thought I was going to die, and it started raining more, and I pulled in after 3 laps, and I was like, I'm not doing this, dude.
Yeah,
I'm going to die.
250, just power band.
Yeah.
Slicks?
It was a 100 horsepower TSR Honda, so the thing was just, it was the raddest 250 I'd ever
Was it
ridden.
pretty wicked? Like throttle response? Was it like two stroke?
Bike. Such a good bike, smooth power delivery, but that Honda was like had a meatier power band than my Yamaha, so I had more mid range, and it just was so fast.
Jeez, yeah, so I couldn't imagine that in the wet.
On slicks.
Nope.
Good luck.
That's gonna be a no from me, dog.
Yeah, after 3 laps, I just pulled her on in.
Yeah, no, I don't blame you. I would have
pulled her on in.
I would have done the same. For you to pull it in, like in a situation like that, like it's probably not good.
Yeah,
probably not good. But yeah. Well, I mean, we got a lot to look forward to here.
Coda's going to be crazy.
It's going to be nuts, dude. It's going to be nuts.
Coda's going to be crazy.
And then we have a bagger championship too. That's like, it's kind of the same thing. Like it's going to come down to the last round again, like it did last year, between both manufacturers. And then now we got Troy Herfoss, who's just been an absolute psychopath this year, and he's made that championship insane. You know, I think he's made it real tough for Kyle, and I don't think anybody really expected him to be that competitive. I mean, we knew Troy was going to be badass. Like, Troy is a world-class racer. He's Australian Superbike champion. But to come in and ride a bagger for the first time on tracks you've never been to.
At Daytona, to come out and win at Daytona? He didn't win on bagger at Daytona. He won on the Super Hooligan bike.
But still, crazy.
But still there.
He was on both podiums.
He should have won one of those races.
Yeah.
He just kind of blew it because
he blew it.
He was leading it
coming on
both races and got past.
Yeah, coming onto he hadn't learned the draft strategy yet.
Here you go. This is it.
Yep, had not learned that draft strategy. And yeah, one of those races, I think it was race 2, he was like, Kyle jumped out coming out of the chicane and like kind of looked back, like waiting to see what he was doing, and he was kind of just he wasn't ready, and ended up second, I think. It was
James. Was he second in both races?
Yeah, it was James, Troy, and James, or James, Troy, and Kyle on both podiums. Both the same 3 guys for both podiums. But I think that was pretty crazy. Like, I was pretty mind blown when I showed up and Troy was he was here to play, like, from the get go.
Well, and I thought after that Super Hooligan win by Troy that
gave him a little bit more steam.
I thought we would be seeing Troy on the top of the podium in Super Hooligan a lot more, and he hasn't been. He's actually struggled the last few rounds.
He hasn't been. Well, I think Brainerd, he just had. Well, no, Brainerd, there was no Super Hooligans there, but he had a shit show of a weekend there. But
he had some injuries. He had like some neck problems. He got super sick.
Yeah. He's just. Yeah. I think it was just a bunch of little things that really has kept him off. But I mean, Mid Ohio, he was there. Like he was
absolutely.
He was hauling ass. Like I mean, he's a player. He's a player. I don't know what his deal is, but I mean, I hope we see him in the United
I hope
States
he comes back. I like watching him ride.
Yeah. And he's just the most humble dude. Like,
yeah, he's a good dude.
Did he come? He like gets on the podium and it's like, was Jesus just speaking to us in an Australian accent? Talk about the nicest.
He just gave him the Jesus.
Talk about the nicest guy.
You gave him the Jesus.
He is. He's Australian Jesus.
He's Australian Jesus. If he just had long hair.
Yeah, he's just like, dude, hey, can you be less perfect? You're making us look like shit. You raced the hooligan class. Be an asshole.
Yeah. No, he's not an asshole.
No, not at all.
Like, genuinely not an asshole.
Not at all. Yeah, I thought it was super funny because at COTA this year, we were in the press conference after the race, and, you know, they're like, all right, thanks for coming, da-da-da. And he puts his mic down and he goes, hey, Frank, when we going to have a beer, mate? And I was like, after the second race, I guess. And second race, he's back on the podium. We're in the press conference again. He puts his mic in and he's like, well, we going to have that beer or not? We walked down to the Alpine Stars Hospitality. Like, I knew Troy because he raced Supermoto here back in the day, and like he was like the guy when I was a kid in 2007. I started racing Supermoto, got my pro license, and he was factory KTM. He was winning races. He was like bad dude, and I like looked up to him in a way, and so I you know, we had a little bit of a friendship, and then I hadn't seen him until he came back to race baggers and Super Hooligans. So I thought that was really cool. Just like a world-class dude, like super nice. Like, dude, let's go have a beer about it. And I was like, you know what? That sounds awesome. Let's do that. And then we drug Kyle and James with us into the Alpine Stars Hospitality and just had some beers. It was really cool. But it just goes to show, like, the dude's here to have a good time. He's competitive. He's fun. He's just got the nicest things to say. And he's, you know, I really hope that we see him here for years to come. It's been really cool having him, you know. And it just goes to show, too, like, this is a world-class series now. Both of them, Super Hooligan and Baggers. It's bringing dudes in not from here, you know, from Australia. And, you know, we see guys from other countries. Who raced the Yamaha in Daytona? One of the world's super sport guys.
This dude. I'm gonna look like an asshole.
What? We're terrible. He came to race his 200. We only look at the podium, clearly. Dude, you know what else we got to talk about? This is big. Larry Pegram.
Larry Pegram.
Let's talk about Larry Pegram.
51 years old. They kept saying he was 52, and then I heard 53. Somebody said like 55.
He's in there.
Gets back on her bagger because Bobby Fong scared the shit out of himself.
Yep, literally.
Fonger had a rough weekend on Superbike, and then our bike blew up. The bagger blew up. So Bobby's been. This has been a real tough year for our team.
Yeah, I think just some bad luck,
and we've had more bad luck than I could shake a stick at this year with motors, which has been crazy. Doesn't really matter where we get the motors built either. So I don't even want to talk about it. We
don't have to talk about that part.
It pains me.
We can fast forward over the painful parts and just switch over to Larry Pegram throwing a leg over a bagger for the first time.
And he went 2 seconds faster than Bobby went.
And then just like he's like been doing it. Like,
yeah.
Larry Pegram, I literally thought there was a conspiracy theory that Larry Pegram secretly has a bagger and has been riding it somewhere and didn't tell anybody and was just ready. Because that's what it seems like.
Did he do a 31 in Q2?
He went fast.
He went fast.
Just immediately.
We were blown away.
I looked at the times. I went, what just happened? I was in Mammoth and I was like, watching Bagger, checking it all out, and I like look and I go, Larry Pegram's on the list and he's going fast. Like, never ridden a bagger before.
No.
Mind blown.
No.
I was tripping. I called Cameron.
And he podiumed in Supersport.
He almost won the thing. He led the race. He led the race over like two of the baddest dudes that have been like probably the only dude that's led those guys all season. Matt and PJ, like
Yeah.
nobody's been in front of those guys all year. Bring the old guy in.
Bring the old guy.
Hey, hold
Pegram.
my beer.
Yeah.
Fucking here's my slippers. I'm gonna put my leathers
And
on.
he's one of the funnest dudes in the paddock.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm just happy he's not mad at you anymore.
What was he mad at me about not riding the bike?
Yeah, he's mad at you at Laguna. Remember? You're all
Oh,
worried.
sure
You're
he
all scared to
was.
talk to him.
I'm sure he was.
Yeah, well, there's a middle finger. I saw it.
Well, he was supposed to ride the bike, but then we end up like just having to focus on Hawk's bike
Yep.
and get Hawk where he needed to be. And,
Yeah.
you know, these motorcycles are a pain in the ass,
They're a lot of work.
and especially if you want to go be competitive, you know. So, and when it comes easy, it comes easy. You're like, oh, we're supposed to be here, and
Yeah.
then when it doesn't come easy, it's stressful.
Well, that's kind of like the Fong thing with you guys. It was like he was either winning or DNFing. You know, whether he's on the ground or there was an issue, but when the day was there, when it was his day, it was his day.
Yeah,
you know,
I think it was pretty.
there's no in between. Is what I guess what I'm trying to say
It's,
is like
it's pretty nutty to go out and fight with the factory guys and
Gnarly.
be able to win races.
it's super
with
gnarly.
on a
Like
small team,
you see, Harley show up, the Screaming Eagle team show up, 30 people crew,
Yeah.
S&S, same thing, 30 dudes, like just the trickiest stuff you've ever seen in your life. 7 computers plugged into the bike. It's insanity. It's like Formula One racing. And then here comes RSD, just sprinter van with a scooter tied to the back of it, and then you open up the doors and there's like parts bins falling out and Bobby's leathers and like
Shit.
it's not a shit show, but it's just a smaller program. So like you see somebody go from that and get Cameron, like you have to get him on. Like he loves talking about this.
Oh,
And he's
yeah.
like,
No. But if we get Cameron talking about it, we'll have a whole podcast of Cameron talking about bagger motors.
yeah, but like Cameron's like theory on like, showing up in the sprinter van and beating the factory guys. Like
that
nothing
feels good.
Nothing has ever felt better to him in his life.
That is a special feeling.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
We've had moments of brilliance this year. Fastest
Totally.
race laps.
Yeah.
Top qualifying positions. Like we've been in positions to do well.
Yeah,
It
Bobby
hasn't been in the cards.
Bobby winning with his airbag going off, and I mean
With Bobby, it's like if something happens before the race, Bobby rides better.
Bobby rides better. You got to freak him out a little.
You got to
bit.
freak him out.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
If he goes into their calm, it's no good. But
No, he needs to be angry and pissed off. Like
Yeah.
in a way, be confident with the bike, but be angry and pissed off.
yeah, it's like you got to tell him like, oh, dude, we forgot to plug one of your tire warmers in. Like, just be careful out there. He'll go win.
Don't tell him that. Do not tell him that. Tire warmers? No. Never tell a rider you forgot to plug a
But
tire
like
warmer
I'm just
in.
saying, it's like that's what you got to do to Bobby. Like, what you did? What? And then he'll go freak out, and then like, oh, cool, you won.
Or just go tell him you backed into his rental car. Like,
yeah, or that works too.
hey, man.
Yeah,
Hey.
Hey, listen, man. I know you
Hey,
don't have
man.
insurance on that thing, but
Yeah.
we just smoked it in the parking lot.
Yeah, hey, I know you thought you had a room tonight, but you don't have that room.
Yeah, no,
yeah,
you can't. We had to cancel that.
We had to cancel that room.
Yeah, card got declined.
Yeah.
Checks in
yeah,
the mail.
that flight. Ooh, your flight got canceled. Not sure why.
Yeah, that check that from the last round. Yeah, that's got lost in the mail somewhere.
Lost in the mail. Don't tell him that either.
No, that's another bad one. The Bobby Whisperer.
Yeah, well, that's Robert Ward.
Yes,
That's
yes.
Robert Ward.
He's done well with Bob, Bagger Bob, Dirty
Yeah.
Bob.
Dirty Bob. That's his new thing.
Dirty Bob.
He's like, I saw the hat. I was
I
like,
know.
Dirty Bob. I'm like, that's kind of sick.
It's him.
That's a claim.
It's him. Yeah, Dirty Bob.
I so want him to grow that beard out, and he'd look like such a.
Bobby has.
He looks like such a terrorist. It would be so awesome.
Bobby has the most perfect facial hair. He's got a line. He just shaves and it grows back, and he's got a lineup.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't even need to go to the barber. He just got a lineup stock.
Yeah, he's a good-looking dude.
He's a great looking guy. He should be a model.
Yeah, he's small. He's like a little baby man. I say that, but I fit in his
He's
letters.
all ripped and shit though.
Yeah,
and has like
he's fit.
badass tattoos and
Yeah, bad
perfect
ball.
facial hair. He's got a
Yeah.
jawline that we all dream about. And he raises baggers.
I think you might kind of like be in love with Bobby a little bit.
Dude, I mean,
You have a little bit of love
Bobby
for
and I
him.
go back.
I
We
know
go
you
back.
guys
we
go
go
back.
we go way far back.
You actually called me when we were talking about putting Bobby on the bike.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And we talked, and you're like, no, Bobby's the guy.
Bobby's the guy because he's a psycho. And dude, I knew all the stuff when we were kids. Like,
Yeah.
I was just telling this story the other day. When I rode back from Sturgis, we rode through Vegas. I rode my motorcycle to Sturgis and back like a man. Did not trailer it. But we were driving through. Me and Heath Pinner were riding back through Vegas, and there's this like kart track just outside of Vegas. And we used to race there when we were kids. Like they had like the Supermoto Championship around there, and I remember Bobby crashed there one year. It was cold. Bobby ate shit, and he had a like I think he had 2 black eyes, like just ate shit.
Oh wow,
2 black eyes, and like concussed the whole deal. And you're like, there's no way this guy's gonna ride tomorrow. There's Bobby the next day, just shield down right over the black eyes, just winning. Yeah, just was still bad as shit. Like that's Bobby, dude. He like the way he was raised. He was like no excuses. Like, dude, we all come from the same place. We grew up racing Lodi, and like he's one of those guys. He just, none of us like had badass shit when we were kids. We just grew up with whatever our parents could afford, and I think that's kind of, what kind of paved the way for guys like him to be fast and be able to ride a bagger, because you grow up on stuff that's not that great, and then you just learn to adapt. But
the flat trackers do good on baggers.
Well, look at the whole field. Everyone's a flat tracker, except for like Troy.
Yeah.
Troy's not a dirt tracker. I'm sure he's done some sort of form of Australian dirt track.
But he's doing supermoto.
He's a supermoto guy, so he's sliding around. And but you look at the whole field, like the Wymans, dirt trackers. Yeah. Corey West, dirt tracker. James, dirt tracker. Like the whole every guy, and it's just goes to show. Like, and we've seen a couple dudes get on baggers that couldn't ride them, and it's maybe that dirt track thing. Maybe it's a little necessary.
I think you just got to be able to ride anything. I mean, that's what Super Hooligan was kind of always about.
Yep.
Was riding inappropriate bikes. So, like, when you put somebody on a bike, it was always like, well, can you ride shit that doesn't work very well?
Yeah. How
is he going to be able to ride something that's a little awkward or weird or not built for it? Because that was always the thing.
I like that you just said ride inappropriate bikes. It's what it is.
I mean, what's
bike
more inappropriate than racing a bagger on a road race track?
Nothing. Yeah, I mean, I could probably think of some stuff that I don't want to say right now because it'd be really inappropriate.
That's a whole different podcast,
whole different realm. Yeah, that's not this podcast.
Yeah, completely different.
Yeah,
podcast.
We're gonna save that one for somebody else. But yeah, I mean, it's crazy. Like, Super Hooligans was really the start of that. That was the early days of Super Hooligans. Like, there were rules. But then they were like, hey, can I do this? Like, show up and race, and we'll see if somebody gets mad about it, and then we'll make a decision there.
Well, that's like a major change that has happened. Is like, now we're definitely deep in the waters with Moto America and making sure that the series is really architected now, and like we have to have genuine rules, and we got to abide by the rules, and we're not the governance of this anymore. FIM is the governing body for the rules now. Big dogs, and it's like legal stuff, and it's a whole nother chapter of Super Hooligan racing. And then our goal is to keep it fun and keep it awesome, and tell really cool stories and talk to all the riders, not just the guys winning.
Yeah,
but we want to go.
Been about.
We want to go deep in the field and talk to everybody who's coming out, give everybody their opportunity to tell their stories, what they're riding, why they're riding Super Hooligan, what it means to them. Because a lot of these guys, like, this is the fucking coolest thing they do,
100%.
And it is the coolest thing.
It is the coolest thing.
I mean, you're gonna go home to your job and you're gonna work, and maybe you got a family and kids, which is awesome. But then you get to go on the weekends. For us, you go to 5 weekends a year. And you get to go be a Super Hooligan racer at some of the best road race tracks.
Professional motorcycle racer.
You can be a professional motorcycle racer.
Yeah, it's really cool, and the opportunity to be able to do that for some guys that like maybe, racing super bikes or even super sporters, like that's not feasible. But this gave everybody a lot of dudes opportunity to, like, I can go live out a dream that I thought that maybe I couldn't have done before.
Yeah,
I mean, even for me, like, I never thought that I would go, when I was 26 or whatever, that I was like, I'm going to go be a motorcycle racer. Like, not one time did that ever cross my mind. I was like, I'm a working man for the rest of my life.
I still don't know how you ended up here. You just wedged yourself in.
Dude, I did it a few times, too.
Yeah, I know you did.
I did it a few times. Like, I kind of built that, like, Ducati on accident with Nathan and those guys. And it was like, I didn't even think the plan was to race it, and then we built that, and it was like, hey, do you want to ride it the last round? Sure, why not? Win the thing. And then I'm like, and then it just lit the fire. Yeah. I was like, I just beat Joe Kopp and Andy DeBrino.
I can do this.
Yeah, I just beat those dudes off the couch, and then like brought me back in, and then I did the flat track stuff, and then
Bagger racing.
Well, even did bagger racing start before we? Yeah, bagger racing was before Super Hooligan.
Bagger racing was for Super Hooligan.
Yeah.
So we put you on on Indian Challenger at Laguna. You tried to weed yourself.
I looped the bike out.
Following Tyler, and the thing just leaked out.
Go follow Tyler and practice a start. Oh.
There's a video of this.
Yeah,
right
here we go.
There's a video.
Don't watch that one.
It's so good.
You know what's the best thing ever?
So
When people, like, I get introduced to people, like, in the V-twin world, and they're like, wait, you're the guy that looped the bagger out. Like, cool. Like, not the guy that raced baggers, not the guy that got a couple bagger podiums at the beginning, not the guy that did a massive burnout inside Roland Shop and the whole Long Beach Fire Department came here. No, I'm the guy that looped the bagger out.
You jump off one stage, you're stage diver for life. You jump off every stage from there on out. You're that guy.
Yeah,
You're that guy. If you're just a little bit that guy in this world, you're that guy.
You're that guy.
You're that guy. You might have just slipped once, but you know.
Yeah, no, I mean, Super Hooligans really brought a lot of opportunity to everybody, and you know, and then like it drug me into bagger racing, and then you know, I still remember the first day you and I took a Super Hooligan flat tracker, put 17s on it, and went out to Willow Springs, and we were like, this is actually what this bike was made for. It was not made to be on the dirt.
It was a way better road racer than a flat. We're like, what have we been doing flat tracking these things?
It made no sense, and then all of a sudden it made all the sense.
Yeah,
and then I guess that's kind of where it like began. You know, it was an idea. It was an idea.
It was. We put slicks on those things and went out and rode them, and they worked really good right away.
Yeah, we had a blast.
Yeah.
What was it? The Bikes and Moto America Bikes and Burgers Media Day at Willow Springs on the big track.
That's right. That was fun.
That was fun. I mean, it was cool seeing you ride there because you have a lot of
big
laps
Willow,
around
dude.
that place.
Place is going. Anyone could ride around that place, but try and go fast around it is a whole nother deal.
Makes you a man.
It
makes you a man.
A very, very fast racetrack.
Yeah.
With
the first time you go into 8 and you don't lift, that's the day you grew hair on your balls. Same day. It's just not. It's a weird coincidence.
I got first day of puberty.
Yeah,
was turn 8.
Yeah, you can start it early. You can start it late.
Flat out on the 250.
Willow Springs makes the decision for you.
No doubt.
Yeah, that was cool. And then it went from that to we did the one round that the year we did like the Triple Crown. It was
Triple Crown.
Yeah, it was a oval track, a TT, and a
road race.
At
Laguna.
We did the Laguna round.
Yep.
And I took one of the bikes, and me and my dad went there and had a little test day, and it was different, but it was like that. It was sick. It was a Super Hooligan bike around Laguna Seca because the track doesn't have a massive straightaway, and those days the bikes were like they were pretty stock, so they weren't that fast yet. And it was like, oh, this is it. This is what we should have been racing Super Hooligan bikes.
We should have been doing the whole time.
The whole entire time.
Well, I mean, because what we were concerned, we're like, because we've been really wanting to bring new people into the sport. So Super Hooligan was about bringing new people into flat track racing.
And it was like relatively safe for the tracks were small.
And then we
it was
remember we
maybe
putting
safe isn't the word.
everybody on the. Remember how many different riders came out?
Yeah.
To Super Hooligan. Who we had? We had Travis came out and rode.
Jake Zemke, Robbie Madison, Tyler Behrman,
Eric Bostrom.
Yeah, dude, it was
like,
nuts.
Brett Q. Colby Raha.
Yeah, yeah. I remember when we did Nitro.
That was insane. Yeah, Nitro.
We just like, hey, you guys that are doing backflips, do you guys want to race over here with us? Like,
they're like,
sure.
Yeah.
Show up for the main event. We'll be fine. And I mean, dude, it was rad. Like it was just.
And did Heron rode? Heron rode with us.
Heron did a Moto Beach Classic too.
Moto Beach Classic.
Yeah. Yep. On a Blackmore Ranch Ducati.
Yep.
Scrambler. Yeah, he did that. And I mean, you brought in like dirt trackers, Sammy Halbert. Who else has done it? Joe Kopp. Joe Kopp was
he was heavy.
Yeah.
I mean, him and Debrino were just absolutely scrapping for that championship. And Brad
a couple years. Brad Spencer, dude, these dudes that my dad grew up racing with, and then like there we go, then my dad, and Tyler's dad, Randy Behrman, Frank Garcia, like
X Games. Remember, I mean, the whole
dude,
crew
trip out on this
X Games.
This is another cool thing, like another thing that I like really just is like a just glory moment of my life is going to X Games qualifier with my dad, and then Tyler and Randy were there. and then Brad Spencer,
Brad
and Bradley
Spencer,
Spencer.
yeah.
So my dad, Randy Behrman, and Brad Spencer all grew up racing Salinas, like dirt track stuff. Salinas Airport, Monterey, short track, San Jose Mile. Like, they all grew up racing together. And then they all have kids, me, Tyler, and Bradley, and we all kind of grew up doing our own thing. Tyler and I have always stayed really close. Brad's kid, we raced with him when we were kids, like in the Salinas area, but then Super Hooligans brought us together. Then next thing you know, there's Super Hooligans and X Games, and next thing you know, these three pairs of father-sons that kind of have this story of growing up together in dirt track racing, are all qualified to go to X Games. Like, that was pretty unreal to me.
That was a really cool weekend.
Yeah, that's just like things that
it was almost like the high water mark for it. It felt like
the stars aligned, like,
yeah.
and then that amongst everybody else that was doing it, you got, Robbie Madison was there with us that year.
Yep.
And then you had like those East Coast dudes that were just like good at riding those little, like, indoor short tracks, and
so many guys, dude.
Yeah, that was rad. But that was a high point of like Super Hooligan flat track racing, was when we were doing that, like getting our dads involved. And like, my dad beat me like straight up at a couple races. Like there was days I just didn't have it for him.
Your dad, and if people don't know, Frank Sr. is a fucking badass.
In a riot.
Yeah, I mean, I mountain bike with the guy. He's an absolute beast on a mountain bike. I mean, he's like half your weight.
Maybe even less.
He's
a little guy.
He's
like the same size as you.
He is, but skinnier and probably in better physical shape.
I mean, maybe better. Yeah, better.
He's a beast.
He's got some stamina to him. He rides a mountain bike a lot, but yeah, I mean, him, like, dude, like growing up, like, I'd go ride with him. He was always faster than me. Like, when I was a kid, obviously, he was a dirt tracker. When I was a kid, he would load up his Rotax, and we'd go to the races, and he would race the pro class to try and like make some money back, because he was outmoneyed for taking us racing. So he would race.
He would race to make money to pay for your racing.
Exactly. And he was like a bad dude. Like, I was like, dude, look at my dad, the pro class, he's bad. Yeah. And then like, then he eventually fell off and like stopped racing, and then but he always rode, and we'd go ride, and like, he's just the master of slippery short tracks. Like, and I always joke around with it. I'm like, yeah, that's because when you were racing back in the day, the water truck wasn't invented yet. And so that's why you ride good at those. But
him and Brad Spencer.
Brad Spencer's a bad
Brad
dude.
Spencer's
a slippery
a
track. Dude, those guys, like those
the
old
shittier the track, the better
they ride.
Go,
like, and
time.
It's just because that's what they grew up on. Like, you watch, like, I see all these old pictures of my dad, and like, there's just dust everywhere, and I'm like, what? The water truck.
Well, and they'd be chilling on the inside. Our problem is that we would just want to send it.
Full send.
Always wanted to. Our whole team, our whole Super Hooligan team,
in every aspect, though,
everybody wanted to send it all the time.
Yeah, get on the track, full throttle. Get off the track. Where's the ice chest? Give me the beer now. Yeah, where are we going for dinner? Nope, we're not having dinner. We're drinking dinner.
We're drinking dinner tonight.
Yeah. Oh, we're racing hungover. Yes.
Yes.
Like, dude,
as many houses as they tried to kick us out of, just. I'm blown away. Like, when I look back, and that's like a huge chapter of life.
It's massive.
Like, the Super Hooligan racing scene was just like the crew that we had. It was just mental.
It was
Jimmy Hill,
Jesus. Yeah, that's another
Robbie
story.
Madison, Tyler Behrman,
Jordan Graham. He didn't even drink. Could you imagine if he drank?
Jordan Graham would just fight everybody.
Fight people. Like, you want to get choked out? Oh, you got a guy for you.
Were you at the house?
Preston Burrows?
Preston Burrows in the middle of it?
Yeah.
Preston and Robbie and Jordan.
Yeah, you get some drinks in two of those guys, and
we didn't really have to worry about like having people to like fight.
No,
those guys were always. We never got in fights.
No,
because those
Jordan
guys
got a fight that one time.
Oh, Jordan got a fight at the racetrack.
Yeah,
the racetrack didn't count.
Yeah, no.
Racetrack was free game. If you're gonna fight in Super Hooligan racing, you fight on the racetrack.
Do it at the racetrack where there's like people and stuff.
Yeah,
but don't do it when we're having a great time after, or else you're probably not getting invited to the next one.
Exactly.
Yeah, dude, we had such good crews. Oh man, I mean, I think there's like a whole nother episode of this where you and I just tell stories. Like, dude, I have so many stories.
Dude, I start going back and remembering some of the shit that happened, and I'm like, oh my god, we can't even talk about that.
No. Like the Quail motorcycle golf course, late night golf course.
Yeah.
Like we're not. That's
Everything that happens after 10 p.m. we're gonna table.
Yeah, that's where the podcast gets cut. Like,
Yeah.
and then we did that. Boop, done.
Yeah.
The end.
Yeah, no, we're motorcycle racers first.
Yeah.
Well, what do we used to say? Like, Super Hooligan Racing was a party where a race broke out.
It was a party where we happened to have our motorcycles in gear bags, so we started racing.
I really want to, like, Laguna, the first Laguna Super Hooligan race.
I'm trying
that was a shit show.
Dude.
That was when Preston was there, and like,
yeah, I did remember.
It was just dangerous.
It was, yeah.
It was. That's when Kiwi Mike fell off the golf cart.
No, that was the second one.
That was the second
race?
one. Oh yeah,
that was the second one. Maybe even the third. But Kiwi Mike weeded off the golf cart, cracked his dome open, like, and then your nephew rode up somebody else's motorcycle
into the mud
through it. Not, it wasn't even mud. It was like a.
We have pictures of all of this stuff.
It was a swamp, and he was like, I think I'm just gonna send it through this thing. Nope, bike stuck in the middle.
Yeah,
and someone was in.
We had to tie a rope around a car to drag the bike out.
Yeah, but somebody had to go knee deep in the mud to go hook the thing up. Hoover. Yeah, knee deep in the mud. Like, and this is just one race. Like, this was actually bike.
I think it was one day.
Well, the bike getting stuck and Kiwi Mike getting his head cracked open was probably within the same hour.
Yeah.
I mean, that's 1 hour of our lives at the racetrack at a Super Hooligan bagger race. But that's just how, like, dude, the stories are endless. Looped out the bagger the first year. But I had to do it you guys all had to live vicariously through my shenanigans, which is fine. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But, man, yeah, we've had some good times. But at the end of the day, really, like, and I mean this, like, with all, like, from the bottom of my heart, like, Super Hooligan and what you've done for me in my life, and like where I'm at today, right now, where I sit, like, you have been a huge part of that. Like, you put me here where I'm at today, and like today I have a fantastic relationship with Harley Davidson, and I'm no longer racing. I actually just raced Sturgis though. I did one and done this year. Sturgis,
you almost won the thing. I heard you did good. I didn't watch it.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
I should have watched
Thanks
it.
for the support.
No, I watched it on Instagram.
You watched the highlights?
I watched the highlights on Instagram.
Got pole, and there was like heavy hitters and Dan Bromley, Sammy Halbert, some like off-road guru from like France. That guy was actually really good. He ended up on the podium. Danny Eslick was my teammate. But yeah, Saddleman and Harley put together a program on Pan Americas.
We didn't talk about Danny Eslick.
Danny Eslick is another one of those guys on the list
Danny
that
Eslick
came and raced Super
Danny
Hooligan.
Eslick at Tulsa.
He broke the frame on an FTR or something
weeded
like that.
that thing.
Yeah.
That thing was like in the air flipping.
When we were talking about who was going to be my teammate for this adventure trackers thing in Sturgis, like Danny's name got brought up at the beginning, and then it was like, well, like, is he going to crash the bike? Like, maybe, and then he ended up being my teammate. And I've told that story probably in the last, leading up to and after Sturgis, I probably told that story 10 times. I'm like, well, the one time we brought Danny to a Super Hooligan race in Tulsa, he weeded up a bike, just destroyed this thing.
I was so glad that was SNS's bike and not ours.
Yeah, here, you guys can have this back. I remember
we called SNS and we're like, hey, we have another bike. I'm like, we'll put Danny Eslick on it for you.
No problem.
No problem. They sent it out for us to ride.
I think he bended over that jump.
He did, dude, in the back.
Yeah, and that jump was sketchy.
Like, but he was going into that jump with no abandon, dude. Just fucking
he thought he was on a motocross bike.
You remember that place, Tulsa?
Yes.
Jesus.
I remember I actually told this story too, because
you were on Ducati.
I was on the Scrambler, yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually told this story recently when I was in Sturgis and we were doing track walk. There was like a lot of mixed emotions about safety. And the whole time I was like, oh no, dude, we used to race supermoto like in the streets of Reno and Vegas, and and I was like, there's curbs and trees and all that. This is nothing. Like, I've done this a million times, and so I wasn't tripping on it. But then I brought up Tulsa, and I was like, we raced to Gene Crouch. Gene's like, dude, is this gnarly? Like, and I'm like, dude, we raced a Super Hooligans race in Tulsa, where it's like if you went down, you were gonna be inside of a building, like you were gonna crash and go through a window after you hit the curb, and you were gonna be in a building. Like this is mellow. Like we didn't have air fence or. Like, I don't even think we had water walls. Like, it was just, like...
We had water walls at that race.
It was full send. We had some fences and water walls, and it was just full send.
We took out all the posts. There was a bunch of metal posts. We took all those out.
Took those out. Ground those out of the ground.
Yeah, ground all those out of the ground. But we had, like, that jump over the top of that little section by the building. Cool. That was cool.
But I remember, like, that was a weak moment in my life, because I remember we were hauling ass there. Like, the track was tight, but we were going fast, and I remember got together with like a couple of guys. I'm like, dude, maybe we shouldn't race. Like, this is pretty gnarly. And I remember I was trying to talk you out of it.
I remember that.
And I was like, I don't know, man. I was pretty nervous about it. And then I was like, you're like, you guys just want to go out there and we'll make it.
We're gonna race not for points.
Yeah,
that's what we said.
And then
everyone's. I think was it Jordan Graham was like, you pussies. We're going racing. We're going racing.
And I remember I remember it like it was yesterday. You just walked by like, we're doing it, and I just went. Well, Dad says we're going racing, so here we go. And it ended up being sick. I had a great time.
I mean, the race itself was rad.
The track was fun. Yeah, I think once we got like rubber laid down, it was like, okay, this is better. You know, it was pretty green, and it was
it just wasn't very wide.
It wasn't very wide.
We did race down an alley.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. The front straight, the start straight, where the flag was, like you came down an alley. And I remember I was battling with Jordan in that main event, and he was in third and I was in fourth, and I was like, I could run it in on him, and we're probably gonna both die, but I can get on the podium. And I ended up not pulling the trigger, and I ended up fourth in that race. But I just remember like there was a couple spots, and I was like, oh, this could be bad.
There was a couple spots.
Yeah,
there was a couple spots.
Going into that last corner. Yeah, like because
it was pretty fast.
Yeah, you
come in right-hander.
Come into that, and then like if something happened, like you're just gonna run into the building.
Yeah, but there was water walls there.
Oh, like that feels any better? Yeah, no. Sure. But yeah, that was cool. But like in Sturgis, I was telling people about that. I'm like, dude, we raced this track in Tulsa, and it was way sketchy. This is fine. This is great. We have air fence here. Like, nah, we're good. But yeah, that ended up being really cool. But anyways, back to what I was saying is like, you know. Where I'm at today, a lot of it has to do with you, and I appreciate the hell out of that. And
thanks, Frankie.
And I will say that forever. Like I'm in a pretty rad spot. The day you called me to race a bagger at Laguna Seca was like, I was like, okay, and I thought like this is weird, but like here we go. I remember you were hesitant about it because I know you didn't want to do. You're like, this is kind of dumb and silly, and like, and I remember like after that phone call, it turned into like Cameron like. Well, what should we do to this thing? Cameron's calling me. I'm like, I don't know. Put some like decent tires on it and a loud stereo and like.
We were gonna keep the radio.
Yeah, like, jack the thing up.
That was like the big decision of the build.
Yeah,
do we keep the stereo or do we not?
That was a big. It was like tires, suspension, stereo.
Yeah,
it was like those are the three things. And I remember that first conversation that Cameron had with me of like, hey, what do you like kind of want done to this? To be comfortable on it, and I was like, yeah, just put some like decent tires and maybe jack the thing up, some tall shocks, or and a loud stereo. And I was like, oh, he's like, okay, yeah. And I thought it was gonna be a fun thing, and then it went from that to
serious.
Yeah, and then like I think a week and a half, 2 weeks later, like, he called me again, and he's like, well. S&S built this gas tank that goes under this carbon fiber bodywork, and we're putting 17s on the thing, and we're going to put FTR forks on it, and we're having billet triple clamps made. And I went, what happened to the stereo? No, that's not happening anymore. Like that, I remember that bike weighed like 560 pounds, or
it was the lightest
something
race bagger.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Wooley's bike.
That thing was light.
The Soudman bike was super light,
thing was really
but our
light.
bike was definitely the lightest of the rest.
Yeah. But
and the rest of those bikes that were there, when you go back to that day, it goes back to that weekend, you think about those bikes and what was out there versus what's out there today.
Dude, it's gnarly. I mean, Wheelie Pig had floorboards on his bike still. I think the Barnett bike did. Josh Chisholm, they had floorboards. And
so crazy.
And then there was like our bike, S&S's bike, and the Vance and Hines Harley. Like even the Vance and Hines Harley though was a Batwing bike.
It was a street glide.
Street glide, and it had like some mid controls on it. It wasn't like we had full rear sets. And that bike still had mid controls. And I remember it still had a little bit of ground clearance issues. But you put a guy like Hayden Gillum on it, and like he's just gonna go fast because he's another psychopath. And
it's cool to see Hayden today riding that thing the way he's riding it. And dude, Rocco. I love watching Rocco Landers ride a bike. I think he's my favorite bagger racer right now. Watching him ride if he's on, I'm watching. Rocco's fun to watch. He's so sideways so much.
The crazy part is like you talk to him and you're like, this dude's a child. Like, dude, you're just a baby still. Like he's like
such a kid.
Dude, at Daytona,
I love it.
At Daytona, we sit down. They're doing an autograph signing like Wednesday before the race, and he's there, and he sits down. I'm sitting at this table. I'm like on my phone. And he comes and sits with me, and he goes, "Hey man, can I ask you something?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I think he's gonna ask me something about bagger related or something like that. You know, the bike. Who knows? And he goes, "How do I get chicks?" And I'm like, "What?" And I like at first I didn't take him serious. And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Oh, I don't know. Like I see you with chicks sometimes, and like how do I get chicks?" And I'm like, "Dude, how old are you? Like you're a kid." And
how old is he? Is he 19?
He's 19. He's 19, and like,
and he grew up in the paddock, right?
He grew up in the paddock. That's all he knows is motorcycle racing. Like, that's why he's so good at what he does.
That's a crazy thing for kids. Like, when you grow up in the race paddock, you don't really get an opportunity to grow up in a lot of ways because especially if you're a fast road racer, because everyone kind of just makes sure that your life is surrounded by the things that
you just
help
like,
you go fast on a motorcycle.
Yeah, settings and tire pressure and data and like talking to chicks. What's that?
I mean, you gotta hang out with us, I guess. I don't know.
Exactly. Well, I guess we're the right guys. Like, we know how to be fun and cool and like make people laugh, and I think that's the recipe for pulling chicks, right? I don't know. Seems to work for me sometimes.
It's better than being an asshole.
It's better than being. Don't be an asshole. Don't be an asshole. That's why Roland's married, because he's an asshole, and one chick put up with it. We love you, Nicole. But Rocco, like you talk to him, and you're like, I can't believe how fast you are. Like, it's like, how do you comprehend everything you're doing?
He's kind of like a hot chick that doesn't know she's hot.
He's a hot chick that doesn't know this. He's like, I'm just here having a good time, and this is fun. And like, dude, Uncle Terry and like, Hayden Gillum, and like those guys put a cool sticker on my bike, and I'm just Harley Davidson, and I'm like,
it's like he just got sponsored, and he still is like trying. He's still trying to figure it out, which is awesome.
Yeah, I just got my first ride. Like, this is crazy.
I mean, if he could take all that he's doing on the bike and kind of put it together a little bit better, if he can ride the thing that out of line that consistently.
This is the crazy part is because he was in Milwaukee with us for homecoming, and I had lunch with him one day, and I was just trying to gather what was going on, because I've known Rocco a long time, but I've never spent like quality time with him, one-on-one time. And he was there the last day by himself, and I was hanging out with him, and I was just trying to understand like what was going on in his brain a little bit better. And he's like, yeah, everyone thinks that I ride all crazy and I'm just out of whack and like I'm just being like insane. And he goes, but I'm in full control. Like it's mellow. Like he goes, that's just how I ride. And I'm like, dude, this is why you're you, because you can ride a motorcycle like that, and it doesn't
it's a big deal.
It's not. It's just normal. Like,
he didn't come in and go, dude, I almost died. That was so crazy. Whoa.
Yeah, I like tucked the front a little bit. I'm like, dude, I almost died. Like, that was fucking crazy.
Like,
oh, dude, he's like black marks are coming out of both tires, and he was like, and it's just like he took a shit. Like, it was just an everyday thing.
It was nuts.
But I think it's really cool. He's a special kid, and he's got a lot of talent. And like you said, I don't even think he realizes how much talent he's got into there. But yeah, I think where he's at right now with the Vance and Irons crew, Terry keeps telling me this.
Terry likes him a lot.
Terry loves him. And Terry just keeps. These are his own words, and he said it to me a few times. And he goes, yeah, we just got him over here, and he's a good kid, and he's talented, and we're just teaching him table manners. And I'm like, couldn't have said it better myself, Terry. That's perfect. So he's got the right crew behind him. And, when Terry Vance loves you that much and sees that much in you, it's a big deal. Another person, too, before Terry signed him that really saw something in him and was asking me about him was Doug Chandler. And for Doug to see potential like that in somebody is a big deal as well. So it just goes to show that people are seeing what he's done, and he's earned his spot that he's in right now on that team. And I mean, clearly, like the first half of the season, he was adapting a little bit and understanding what these big bikes do, and then now he's like been consistently on the podium.
It's interesting because I think no matter what, you always want to get young blood into the sport. And Hooligan is a little bit older, and Bagger's a little bit older. It's kind of some of the older riders.
Yep.
So to see a kid like Rocco come in and be able to do what he's doing, I think is maybe starting to pave the way for potentially some young blood to get back into the sport. And that's what we really need. I think that's the next big push with this stuff, is getting the young bloods in.
Well, speaking of that, is like obviously I do this stuff with Ovale now and partner in the U.S. distribution.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And the kids that race these Ovales are like 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old. They have interest in racing baggers. Like they think it's cool already. And like I didn't know that until these kids were like, one day I want to race a bagger. And I'm like, whoa, like that's how much of an impact all this has had.
Like
on
they're kind of like going from, I mean, if you go from like, I'm going to ride MotoGP because that's all we wanted to do.
Yeah, I wanted to race MotoGP.
To now they're like, oh, I want to ride bagger.
Yeah, I want to race baggers.
I want to race an American motorcycle on American racetracks in front of American fans.
Yeah, it's crazy that like
it's insane.
These little kids who, I don't have kids, but I got friends that have kids, but I don't spend a ton of time around like 10-year-old kids. Now I do because I'm involved in this Ovale stuff. And it kind of blew my mind that they're aware of it. They're aware of what's going on, and they pay attention to it. I guess like with YouTube and all the access they have these days, it makes it easier. But it kind of blew my mind when like this 10-year-old's like, I want to race a bagger one day, and I was like, that is really cool.
That's awesome.
And for a guy like me who's like kind of at the forefront of the whole situation at the beginning of this thing, like that's kind of special to hear that like I was able to be a part of something that like has an effect on like the next generation. And like stokes them out. I'm like, oh cool, I guess I was doing something cool. So it's rad. But
well, stoked for the Ovale thing. You guys coming out to Moto Beach?
We're coming out to Moto Beach, man. I think
all right.
I think we need to have a meeting about that.
We have a meeting about this. Unfortunately, I got to go.
Oh well,
but
fuck you.
I know. I got to be somewhere. And
hey, hold on.
Let me drop some sponsors real fast.
Hold on. I think we got to talk about one more person that I feel like deserves a part of this. Andy DeBrino.
Oh, DeBrino.
I think we have to talk about him real quick because I think he deserves. He's another guy that, like, as much of a pain in the ass he's been for all of us, he really paved the way for all of this too, and has been a part of it since the beginning.
I'm glad you brought Andy up because he had a tough shake after Daytona this year.
Yep.
And
massive crash.
Yeah, I mean, I think Chris Fillmore just showed that the new bike's going to be competitive, and hopefully we can see Andy back next year, ready to rock on a 990.
Yeah. Because he's been a part of this since even longer than I have.
Oh, he's come to so many races.
Yeah, he was riding.
I mean, battling Joe Kopp, and he's the only guy that was fast on dirt and on the street.
I'll go fuck myself then.
Well, no. When I mean fast, I mean fast.
Consistently. On the box all the time.
You didn't race Super Hooligan road racing very much. You finished on the box at...
No, I didn't. I got 4th.
Oh.
Kolstad got me.
Shit.
Kolstad got me.
Well, he was a big bagger racer, so Frankie didn't spend as much time on Super Hooligan road race bikes.
I opted out of it a little bit because
but he's been the one guy that's been able to win dirt track races on Super Hooligan and road races on Super Hooligan. So he
might have like a Super Hooligan what do you call it? When you win all the tracks. Like Doug Chandler. He's won
a Grand National?
A what?
Like a Grand National?
No, like when you win a TT, a short track. What do they call that again? You win all of them. You win a road race, a TT, a short track.
You win a Grand National. That's a Grand National Championship.
No, there's a name
hat
for
trick?
it. No. We're going to think of it. Grand Slam.
I'll just say, hey, we just want to give a big thanks to all our sponsors for Super Hooligan, Motul Oils, Indian Motorcycles, Trackhouse, sponsoring our rider, Hawk Mazada, on our Indian FTR 1200. Been a really cool group of people this year in our racing team throughout the race series,
good
racing
vibes.
Super Hooligans, good vibes. SDI Racing,
Daddy Steve.
Dunlop Tires, Mission Foods from Mission Foods Super Hooligan. They've been a huge sponsor of ours. And that's it. I want to give a big thanks to Moto America and the crew at Moto America for helping us grow Super Hooligan Racing. And thank you to Mr. Frankie Garcia for coming out.
It's good to be here, man.
And giving us some good words.
Great to be here.
Some great memories as well. So we're going to continue to make it.
Yep.
Let's make memories.
Are we done?
I think so. Do we hold hands?
Are you holding? Da, 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 da.
Thank you, Frankie Garcia, for coming out and having this quick chat about Super Hooligan Racing and Moto America Racing and all kinds of great memories, man.
Yeah, it's been really cool to be here. It's really iconic. Really iconic. Everything you've done to, your vision with Super Hooligans and everything, and like to see how far it's come. It's really cool. And now there's a Super Hooligan podcast, and we're going to talk all about it.
Let's do it. Thank you, brother.
Rad,
I think that was
dude.
awesome,
That was
dude. Good combo.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
And we can sit here and go on for days
That's
and
not
days
my
and days.
phone.
That's not your phone?